For decades, this case officially didn't exist. The building was abandoned, the records were sealed, and the people who worked there were told never to talk about what happened inside. What went on here wasn't a rumor. It was documented, and then quietly buried. In rural Arkansas, just outside what used to be a growing community, there once stood a state-run mental health facility. From the outside, it looked like any other institutional building of its era. Long hallways, small windows, locked doors. It was meant to treat the mentally ill, the traumatized, and those deemed unfit to live freely in society. But behind those walls, oversight was minimal, and accountability was almost non-existent. During the early to mid-1900s, mental health care in America was deeply flawed. Patients were often committed without consent. Some weren't dangerous. Some weren't even mentally ill. Records show people were sent there for severe depression, post-war trauma, alcoholism, or simply being difficult for their families. Once admitted, release was rare. And Arkansas was no exception. Former employees later described the same pattern: overcrowded wards, undertrained staff, and treatments that were considered standard, he said at the time, but disturbing by today's standards. Patients were restrained for hours. Isolation was common. Medical notes were vague, repetitive, and often unsigned. In some cases, names disappeared from logs entirely. No transfer records, no discharge papers. Just gone. The turning point came quietly. A staff member reported irregularities. Patients listed as present who hadn't been seen in weeks. Rooms marked occupied, but empty. Medication logs that didn't match patient counts. An internal review was ordered. What investigators found wasn't ECT explosive enough to make headlines, but it was disturbing enough to trigger concern. Patient deaths were recorded without causes. Autopsies were missing. Some burial records didn't match names or dates. And then, suddenly, the investigation stopped. Within a short period of time, the facility was shut down. No press conference. No public explanation. Patients were transferred elsewhere. Staff were reassigned or let go. The building was locked. State officials later described the closure as routine restructuring. But former workers tell a different story. They say they were instructed not to discuss the facility, ever. Years later, when the property was partially reopened for records review and demolition planning, workers reportedly found items that were never meant to remain behind. Medical files hidden in storage rooms, handwritten notes stuffed inside walls, patient wristbands with no matching names in state archives. Most of those documents were collected. Some were never cataloged, and many were never released to the public. This wasn't an isolated case. Across the United States, similar institutions operated with little oversight for decades. But Arkansas's case stands out because of how completely it vanished. No museum, no memorial, no official report acknowledging what went wrong. Just silence. Families of former patients have since come forward, still searching for answers about relatives who were committed and never returned. To this day, key questions remain unanswered. How many patients died there? Why were records sealed instead of corrected? And who made the decision to erase the paper trail? There are no confirmed crimes on record, no official wrongdoing admitted. But the absence of answers speaks louder than any accusation. This facility wasn't the only one like it. Another case, less than 50 miles away, ended even more abruptly with even fewer explanations. And that story is darker. If you want real stories like this, the ones most channels won't touch, subscribe, because some history wasn't lost. It was hidden.